Hey guys, it's coreross and welcome to 6 News. So today we have official pictures of the next stadium map that will be coming with the 6 Invitational event, which should start in January. If not, it'll start in February. For instance, last year the event started on the 15th of January, so it may not be that far away at all. But anyway, back to the pictures. So we clearly have a redesigned stadium map, and it follows the kind of lore of this map where it's supposed to be modular, it's supposed to be able to be reconfigured very quickly so that you can set up different games, and it seems that we're getting a different configuration this time around. And just like last time, we are seeing different maps merge together to create this stadium map. So for instance, in this one, we are seeing bits of border and bits of coastline coming together to create it. But then of course we also have the uniqueness of stadium map where we have the bulletproof glass and the completely different aesthetics and also a far cleaner kind of approach to the map. Now let's go through the images one by one and actually go in depth on them. So this first image, this is the loading screen. I'm pretty sure this is going to be what you see when you load up into the game, and I'm pretty sure this is also the final version of this map. The big takeaways here is that we're looking at a lot of cover outside for attackers, and we've got the kind of central building as usual. So I was kind of thinking we might get a different game mode this year with the kind of odd teams we have with attackers and defenders on them, but this looks like a normal attacker-defender setup. So I'm assuming this might actually just be normal siege like last year, but we'll have to see if they throw in anything unusual. We also have the map using very nice colors. And of course we see the bulletproof windows, we see the overhang scoreboard, which still looks like we can spawn there and actually rappel down. We've got quite a lot of different kind of access ways up. We potentially have 3 levels, but last year we did have an underground level, but it was just for attackers to move around the map, so it wasn't any use for defenders and didn't, change any gameplay inside the building at all. But it'd be cool if there was some sort of basement element this time around. And before we switch on to the next picture, I'll note that behind is the other side of the stadium. We've got kind of where like the commentators and stuff would probably be. But on the next image, we actually switch around to the opposite side of the map. We're now looking towards that kind of statue at the back that's all spiky. And this one looks like it's a much more early in development version. First of all, there's no color to it. It's very drab. So it looks like it's an older version. At least that's what my kind of takeaway is. There's a lot less cover outside for the actual attackers. And you'll also notice that big metal structure that kind of looks like girders and stuff above it is far chunkier than it is on the newer version as well. Of course, this one is rendered in-game, so this must have got quite a lot of development before then evolving into the final version, but this is also just my guess. There'll be a link in the description below you actually check the sources out for this, because there's no information on what order anything comes in, and this is just simply the images, so we have to just dig deep into what we see. But we can see a reinforced wall at the back there. Presumably whoever took this screenshot either reinforced that during the game or it's pre-reinforced. I assume it's probably not pre-reinforced though. We do also have an external wall piece as well. And like I say, this is the opposite side from what we get in the other image. So if this hasn't changed too much, we probably potentially do have an external destructible wall, at least 2 of them potentially on this side of the building, which is kind of cool. We don't see that so much on maps these days. And like I say, this one really does lack the cover outside. There really is just pretty much nothing, whereas the other one's totally covered in containers. So it'd be interesting if this was actually an alternate version for a different game mode, but I really doubt that. I don't think there's going to be 2 game modes and 2 maps. I think there's going to be 1 map and 1 game mode. So curious certainly to see how this might have been developed to begin with before it got into the final version. But then we move over into the concept art, and this shows us some of the interiors. So we've got VIP here, and this of course is from Coastline. It looks very similar indeed, and that's usually what happens with these stadium maps. They bring in the stuff we're familiar with, which is quite interesting because they put them together and it's like, wow, this is familiar, but it doesn't join onto the same room and it feels weird, but it also brings back some memories. It's kind of cool. And it's got that kind of stadium concrete minimalist vibe to it all. And yeah, looks really cool. Moving on from that, we then have a kitchen. This of course is Coastline's kitchen. A little bit different, but you can see the window on the right hand side with the cover. You can see the counter you can jump over to get out the door over there. So it is very much Coastline's kitchen, but maybe a little tweak. Then we go up to the bedroom. Now this again, Coastline, you'll recognize it, although a little bit different. We have a double window and a single window. Of course, this is concept art, so we don't know how much they're actually going to take away from this. We might see reconfiguration of the windows and yeah, potentially. There's also apparently is still a bomb site. We can see a bomb there with a room going on through to the other area. So again, looking like it's very similar. But then we move on to something that's not so similar. This is a shower room and it looks very large. We've got 2 big windows. We've got a destructible wall. And I don't think this quite fits in with anything we currently have. But that's the thing. They can tweak this map quite a bit if they want. So be interesting to see if there is indeed a big shower room in the final version of this map. Then we go on to Border and we can see this is the Armory, and this one looks really cool. So this is very similar to Armory, but I love the fact we've got this big bulletproof window there. It'll be so cool to attack this objective because usually this is one of the most enjoyable objectives to attack and defend, and I'm looking forward to actually just peeking in the window and seeing what the defenses have set up. And yeah, I think that's pretty damn cool. So looking forward to that if it obviously makes it into the actual, goes from concept into the map itself. And that brings us into the other bomb site in Border, which looks actually to be almost exactly the same. We have kind of missing that big area above the building because normally we have really high ceilings and there's kind of this kind of arches above it you can see through. Those are gone, but we have soft walls in all the usual places, and of course I'm assuming they're reinforceable as usual. We have a window, we have a door. It all looks very, very much like the usual Border setup, and yeah, pretty damn cool indeed. I love, of course, this style of map as well. Then we finish with an external concept art, and this shows how different the concept art might be from what we actually get in games. So those concept art rooms might not actually even make it into the game because this one looks very different from the final version, or at least we think is the final version on that potential loading screen image, where we see more of a glass roof, it looks like, with potentially a central access point, which might have been the kind of courtyard setup from Border, which could still exist in this new version as well. So we might have a central kind of courtyard area, although it'll be probably relatively small if we do. And yeah, we've got the bulletproof windows, we've got the usual kind of SI setup in the stadium, and overall looks really, really cool. So I'm looking forward to playing this and seeing what it's going to be like, seeing what the game mode is, if it's just normal siege or if they are doing something unusual with it. I'm really curious what they could possibly be up to for this kind of Road to SI event, which, like I say, should come at some point in January. It does depend when the actual SI event is, either it'll be late January or mid-January. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll leave you with the final picture, which is just going to be what I think is the loading screen. And let me know, what do you think from this, because this is, I assume, the final version. What do you think the game mode's going to be? Do you think it's just going to be pretty much the same as last time? Do you think it's going to be something surprising? Can you see anything that I have missed in this? Because of course there's probably plenty of stuff I've missed here. And let me know what you think in the comments below.